What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragon Flight video. Hope you're all doing really well. I want to chat for a little bit about my trinkets and crafted gear, the primordial annulet, a couple of different things that I have in my Mistweaver that if you're not really sure, but I want to try and give you a little guide for how to work on some of this stuff. We're going to start at the beginning if you're just getting into being a Mistweaver, and if you're low item level, and I can work your way all the way up to kind of where I'm at now. I'm about 430 item level, and we're getting pretty deep into the gearing experience at this point. So let's just talk about crafted gear in a minute. We're going to talk about trinkets first and all that stuff. We're going to cover it right here. So first and foremost, I just want to highlight that crit is an incredibly important stat for Mistweaver. It's good for everybody. I said this in my last video, but really it's quite important for Mistweaver because the way that you heal is by dealing damage, right? The more damage you deal through ancient teachings, the more healing you will produce. The more damage you deal by spinning with Awakened Feline, the more healing you will produce. Therefore, if you crit while spinning, while doing Awakened Teachings healing, then the healing will also crit. If I do 100,000 damage, I will crit for 100,000 healing as well. So it's the same thing. So critting kind of gets a double dip there. It's kind of like Disc Priest in a way, right? Where you do a lot of damage and you get healing from that damage. So the more crit you get on the damage, you're getting more damage, first of all, and you're also getting more healing. So just want to highlight it's really important. That's partially why I'm using Drogbar Rocks. We'll get to that in a second. And why I'm also using Phial of Corrupted Rage. I would highly suggest you use these phials. Yes, they do damage to you, but if you're a healer, then it really doesn't matter. You just press one Renewing Mist, and you can see my health is fine. And now I got 6% more crit. I was at 25. Now I'm at 31. So you can see it's totally worth it. Having 30 to 40% crit on a Mistweaver is incredibly strong. And that's what you should try and shoot for. Okay, let's jump into trinkets. I want to talk about this for a second. Or no, sorry. Let's do the Annulet first. So unfortunately right now, the Primordial Annulet, the Onyx Annulet, is still our BIS, one of our BIS rings. You really can't get away from it. Look how much damage this thing does. It's doing 11.4% and then 5.3%. That's 16.5% of my damage. That's the most damage out of any of my abilities. So, unfortunately, you still have to use this thing. I have a ring that I would love to replace this with, and I'm going to upgrade this later. But I can't replace it right now because it's just way too much damage that I'm losing. Now, Blizzard has responded to this in a post, and they talked about how in patch 10.1.5, which is coming soon, actually. I think it's going to be early July. I think I was reading something today that says it might be early July. They're going to nerf the effectiveness of all primordial stones that deal damage by 40%. Okay? We are compensating specific specializations that commonly use the Annulet. So what they're going to do for Mistweaver is... oh, I went too far. Sorry. Mistweaver, I believe they're going to buff by about 10%, which isn't too crazy, but you can do all spell and ability damage up by 10%. So it's not going to be, I don't think, the exact same as the 40% nerf. Like, this damage is going to go down by 40%, which is fine. I think it's going to be okay. That's the bottom line. They're going to buff all our damage by 10%, and then they're going to nerf the stones by 40%. So overall, it's going to be a bit of a nerf, I think, but that's okay. I think we don't have to worry about that. We'll actually, if we want to, we can keep the stones on, or I think you could potentially switch to a different ring. So if you have another ring that is really good that you think is going to be good for Mistweaver, hold on to it right now because you might want to swap to it once the Annulet gets nerfed in patch 10.1.5. Okay, that's the Annulet right there. Let's talk about trinkets. First and foremost, I'll talk about the trinkets that I'm wearing. I have Spoils of Neltharis from Neltharis. And I have these Drogbar Rocks, which I've been talking about a lot, and I love these things. Yes, they are a low item level. Yes, they don't give you main stat, but they do give you crit. And look at what else they do. Look at the damage proc on these things. 7.5% of my damage just from these silly Drogbar Rocks. Some of the crits were for 135k. They're hitting so hard, man. It is crazy. 7.5% of my damage in a dungeon. It's like that across all my dungeons. It's pretty similar. Underrot, what did it do in the Underrot? It did 7% in the Underrot. What about Vortex? It did 6.5% there. Here, 7.3%. Legacy of Tyr, 7.5%. So there you go. In all these dungeons, it's just pumping damage. It's absolutely crushing damage. And I think these are actually a very, very good, legitimate trinket for you to pick up. And especially if you're just starting out your journey as a Mistweaver, or maybe you're only like item level 400 right now, come down to the Zerlek Caverns, okay? Come down to the new zone and travel way down here to Glimmerog, okay? Do this for me right now. Come down here. I had a comment from, let's look at it right here. From Cairo, he said, an NPC named Gudeg gives you a quest that rewards you with the Drogbar rocks, can be upgraded to 411. So I didn't realize that I had done this quest earlier. There was also a world quest that brought it up for me. It was something like this. Satchel of Healing Spores, you can see right there. It's already upgraded a little bit. It's got a few upgrades already done. But if you don't have that quest, that world quest, come down to the south here, right by Glimmerog, and talk to this guy. This is exactly what Cairo was just talking about. This is Gouda Egg. Here's the quest called Flesh to Bone. You can pick any one of these trinkets as your reward, and the Drogbar rocks are right here. So once you get them, you can upgrade them to 411 like I've done, and they're going to do tremendous amounts of damage for you. They're really, really good. If you're playing Brewmaster, you could actually pick up the Drogbar stones and the Drogbar rocks, hopefully from like a different quest or something, and they'll both synergize together. They're a little mini set that you can actually use. But I'm telling you right now, these Drogbar rocks are insane. I'm doing plus 16, plus 17 keys. Yesterday I was just doing 16s. I did a 17 last night, but 16, 16, 16. I'm using the Drogbar rocks, and these things are pumping damage, man. They're doing 6 to 7.5% of my damage. So I think this is a legit trinket. If you don't have it, come pick it up from Gudeg. It might be also on the map, so take a look for it if you don't see it right away either, okay? Otherwise, my other trinket is going to be Spoils of Neltharis, which is one of the best trinkets you can get from Mythic Plus. Let's look at the Mythic Plus trinkets. There's really not a lot of choice. There's kind of two choices, period. There's nothing in Brackenhide. There's really a couple in Halls, and they're more defensive in nature, which is fine. This water-beating one is really, really cool. Iridius is pretty cool too, but more so for DPS. This one's kind of cool. Increasing an ally's armor and healing them. Very, very good defensively if you want that one. The best one you can get is the Neltharis trinket, I think. This is the Spoils of Neltharis. Open the Spoils to loot the first thing you find. I have the buff right here. I can see that it's going to increase my haste if I activate it. If I start using spells, it changes. Now it's crit, and then it'll go to Verse and Mastery. So it's a very, very good trinket. It's probably the best trinket that you can get out of Mythic Plus for Mistweaver. So go get Spoils of Neltharis. Go do Neltharis and Mythic Plus and get this thing. It's going to serve you really well. You just pop this thing on cooldown and then go do your stuff, and whatever stat you get is going to be relevant. Crit and haste and Verse and Mastery, they're all relevant. They're all good. So that's the best one you can get. There's really, this one's okay in Ultimum, but it's not really that good. I promise. Nothing in Freehold, nothing in Underrot, nothing in Neltharian's Lair, and the Vortex Pinnacle has the second trinket you should consider getting, which is Rain Song. This has your healing spells as a chance to give you haste for 15 seconds, and then while you're under the effect of the haste, your healing spells can give other people haste as well. Very, very powerful, actually. Haste is a great stat for Mistweaver. I have a Rain Song right here. I haven't upgraded it all the way yet, and I'm still loving my Drogbar rocks, and I still want to use them. Eventually, I will give them up, though, once I get enough crests to upgrade this Rain Song all the way to tier 8. 8 out of 8, then I will probably replace my Drogbar rocks just because the intellect alone is going to be worth it. So, again, Drogbar rocks, probably an early game in this patch sort of trinket to find, okay? Besides that, you can look to the raid to find some trinkets as well. If you do raiding, then there's really, really good trinkets to find in there. There's a list right here on Wowhead. This is just I just typed in, Mistweaver trinkets, just like that, into Google, and the first link that pops up is this one right here. So, these are some good ones too. Neltharian's Call is really good, Rashok's really good, and Screaming Black Dragon Scale, all very, very good. Ominous is also really good. It's just a stat stick, and then here are the 2 from Mythic Plus. So, they're rating the 2 Mythic Plus ones. If all you do is Mythic Plus, Rain Song and Spoils is still very good for you. Otherwise, you're going to want to get into the raid and find these other trinkets because they will be much more powerful for you. But if you want to be a Giga Chad like me, just go get the Drogbar rocks and use those and just pump tremendous amounts of damage with those Drogbar rocks because they're really, really cool. They're also giving you crit which is allowing your heals to crit and your damage to crit. Like I said earlier, with Ancient Teachings and Awakened Phalanx, that's a lot of extra damage and healing that you'll get to do. Okay, finally, crafted gear. Let's look at crafted gear really quickly here. I did a couple of interesting things with my gear. I wanted to try out the Toxic Thorn foot wraps. These are boots that you're able to craft as leather, if you're leather, which monks are leather wearers. And they create these thorns. The thorns feed off your vitality, reducing your stamina. Don't worry about that. Your spells and abilities have a chance to launch magical thorns at your target, healing allies or damaging enemies for nature damage. These effects are increased by 100%. They're doubled if you equip an item with a toxified armor patch. I went and crafted a life-bound belt, and then I put the toxified patch on it, so it becomes an embellished piece. You can only have 2. So this is my other embellished piece, and then I was able to get these thorns as my other embellished piece, and then they are doubled in their effectiveness. So whenever these thorns go off, they're going to do, instead of 27,000 healing, it's going to do 52,000 healing? 54,000 healing, sorry. And instead of doing 16,000 nature damage to an enemy, they're going to do 32,000 nature damage. So that's worth it. It's worth it to get the double up. Make sure you do that combo. How effective have they been? Well, let's look at the dungeons that I've done. This one right here, you can see the damage from launch thorns is not that great. It usually was like 0.5 to 2% of my damage. But the healing is outrageous. It's doing 6 to 7% of my healing. And yes, it overhealed a lot, but the point is, if there was more damage going out in the dungeon, then it would just heal for more, just straight up. It would heal for 50% more. So that's in one dungeon. It ended up healing for 6.2%. Did I have it on Legacy of Tyr? What did it heal for on this one? Look at this, 6.5%. It's my 4th. Oh no, it's my 6th heal. It's beating Enveloping Mist and Vivify. Isn't that crazy? The Vortex Pinnacle. Look at the healing there. I did 70k HPS on the Vortex Pinnacle. It required a lot of healing. Big thorns again. 5% of my healing once again. Underwrought. Let's look at that one. Ended up doing 5.5%. So the thorns are really, really good for healing. Not so good for damage, because they'll either proc while I'm healing or while I'm doing damage. It seems like as a healer, they seem to be primarily proccing on the healing side of things, which I actually don't mind. So basically, you can equip a crafted piece of gear that takes away a little bit of your stamina and gives you 6 to 7% more healing. That is crazy. That is totally worth it for us as Mistweavers. You should absolutely equip these, in my opinion, because as you scale up into the difficulty of these dungeons, a lot more is going to be required of you. 58k HPS, the Vortex Pinnacle, like I said, 70,000 HPS overall. That's a lot. I had to pump a buttload of healing to make this dungeon work. So the launch thorns are very helpful in that regard. Did they do any damage on that one? Not really, no. Again, it's more about the healing. So that would be my recommendation to you guys. That I looked at a lot of other things that you could craft. There was some interesting kind of trinkets like Alchemist Stone and Shadow and the Dark Moon deck cards. There isn't really anything that piqued my interest other than this. I think this is worth crafting if you're wondering what to craft for Mistweaver. If you're struggling with healing a little bit, you can craft this thing. It will give you a bunch of extra healing. Also, if you're struggling with healing a little bit, you can replace the Desirous Bloodstone with the Deluging Water Stone or the Exuding Steam Stone. I don't have the Exuding Steam Stone with me, but that would be the other one that's really, really good. So there's multiple options for you there, but that's about it, guys. That's for the video. I would say right now we're gonna have to use the Onyx Annulet until 10.1.5 comes out. Then I'll do some testing and I'll figure out if we still need it or not, and I'll let you know. I think the Drogbar rocks are amazing. If you want to do more damage in keys, definitely pick this up. It is incredibly strong. Otherwise, Spoils of Neltharis is a very, very good trinket as well. And finally, I think you should probably go craft the Toxic Thorn foot wraps. Make sure, though, you have another piece of gear with the Decay, the Toxified patch on it, so that you can get double effectiveness out of your boots here. Okay? That's it for me. What do you guys think? Tell me know in the comments down below. What items have you crafted on your Mistweaver, and what trinkets have you been lucky to pick up so far? I would love to hear from you in those comments down below. Thank you guys so much again for watching. I love you all. I will see you in the next one.